Damn. Why couldn't Foss have won?
Why's that?
Cameron out, Crouch out.
Oh, yeah.
Would have been...
I told you cared about him winning.
No, I'm actually happy with Tom because I think I got Tom too. Foss and Tom both have no depth.
Yeah, but they got high
Good players, yeah.
All right. I better make sure actually you're streaming.
Like Tom's got no stream it's got no good loopholeable players.
Yeah. Same with Foss actually. That was my one advantage.
So I could get them. Hopefully, I get Tom on Friday night with my loopholes.
Yeah. All right, streaming on all channels so we can get started. G'day, Facebook viewers. There's 4 there. All right, let's do it. You guys ready?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yes. I don't wait for the thingo. Yes, good. Cool. Let's hit record. G'day listeners and welcome to the Keeper League podcast. We're the AFL fantasy podcast that doesn't talk about the superstars. We only talk about the lesser knowns and the players that are going to bring value to your draft and Keeper League teams. It's grand final week in most leagues and I'm joined by my co-host Kays. How are you, mate?
The grand finalist of all of us.
Yes. Oh,
times 3.
Dossie's not in the grand final of anything, are you? You've got a bit of a sob story that you want to tell our listeners, don't you, Doss?
Yeah, we can get into that later. I think well done to Kays, though, for being the
team that everyone bagged all year. Hef said my team's shit. I traded all the good players.
Your team's great. I don't say it was shit. I say you lost every trade, which you did. Like, it could have been a lot better, but your team's still good.
We can discuss that next week.
Yeah. That said, like, the trades that you did make, like, you had to make them. It's just that they didn't kind of pan out the way you wanted them to. Doesn't matter.
That's how it happens.
How are you feeling, though? Because you're coming up against a guy who's won 4 grand finals in our league.
Beat me last year.
He's been in the last 4 straight, I think.
Yep.
He's won 2 of the last 4, I think it is. Mm-hmm. He beat you during the year?
I've beat him twice.
I
think so. I'll check.
Yeah.
1 second.
So, yeah, are you feeling nervous or?
It's always tough to come up against Tom because he has a knack of always.
You meant Tim? Sorry,
winning. Tim Scroat.
We refuse to say his name in this podcast. But anyway,
let's have a look.
Is that a thing? Actually,
yeah. Like a few people have picked up on it. We've called him Timmy Scroat.
I've beaten him. I've beaten him twice.
What kind of a name's Scroat? But it's actually not him. So you beat him twice.
Yeah. Look, it's tough because he's got players who can go big and. That's the biggest issue. Doesn't have a lot of depth, so that might be where I could get him, hopefully with a few loopholes. But
that said, he did put up a monster score last week. Mm-hmm. Do you think your team would have matched it?
I would have beaten him by 20 points.
Oh, okay. Yeah, right.
So it's tight.
All right, let's hear a few of the key cogs then in your team. Mm-hmm. Who's going to carry you over the line here?
Who are you thinking the vice-captain captaincy? Give that away? Yeah,
I'm happy to give that away. It's an open book. So the vice-captain I'm going to put on Big Maxi Gawn on Friday night up against Oscar McInerney. Mm-hmm. These need to win, so to get top 2 or whatever it is. So I think Maxi's going to leave it all out there, and which leaves the captaincy hanging on Callum Mills in the final game of the round. So
it's a long time to wait between.
It's a long time to wait, but obviously it gives me a lot of time to jiggle the team around and stuff like that. So I've got a few loophole guys. I might try and see if I can sneak one of these guys in. But
who are Sydney playing again?
Sydney are playing St Kilda.
Okay.
So I've got Chad Warner, Luke Parker, and Callum Mills to bring me home, whereas Tim has no one in that game. So
he'll be
I could be chasing down in that last game. So it's going to be big. Obviously I've got a few Keys has been down on form, McRae's been down on form, so I need some of those guys to flip around. So see what happens there.
And Dossie, what happened to you on the weekend?
All right, so come in as the $1.10 favourite to win the flag this year, boys, at the start of the season. Obviously, big credentials on this show. Coming into this prelim matchup, it was 2nd versus 4th. I've gone down, boys. Look,
how much?
It probably could have been less, to be honest, because I went risky with my captain late as well. So I lost by 101 in the end. But yeah, like I said, I didn't take 123 vice captain loot because I knew I needed a 150 to come home. So let's hear some of these players first, okay? Mm-hmm. For starters, this is why I consider myself robbed. Okay,
robbed right in front of me.
Patrick Cripps, he's off, right? He got suspended. He's out for the week.
Should have been suspended.
I'm in the clear.
Yeah.
Hold on. This guy in my league. He's obviously gone to Gill. He's got a reprieve.
Sent a message.
He's let off. Not only that, he's whacked the C on him. 118 as his
wow.
captain.
Handy.
We have captains
That's
in our
balls
league.
to put the C on Cripps.
Yep. Chucked it straight on. Well, he had VC on Lockie Neal, so he did get a bit unlucky early in the round. That luck turned around quick. 110 from Callum Ward. 107 Dylan Shield. 109 Seb Ross. 110 from Jeremy Cameron. 134 from Tom fucking Lynch.
Now, didn't I call
8
Tom Lynch
goals.
last week? He was on the Waiver Wire podcast.
Career
I said,
high 8 goals. Did you
stream
call
him-
that? Did you, Hef?
Stream him this week
Bastard.
because he's going big.
Then he's looped on Ben McAvoy for 105. Like, these are not household names. Okay?
Means and it just comes back to it. Anyone can win a final or a fantasy
And
game
then
when it comes down
your
to
bloody
it.
Bombers suck that bad that Ridley can pop a 109 as well. So, look, it was just not my week. And I've lost. I've gone down.
Bad luck.
Yeah, better luck, Dossie. Better luck next year, mate. It's
Thanks,
all right.
mate.
Like my season's over. My season's over in like everything. Like classic, I was same deal. $1.10 favorite. Classic went down in the finals. Was out of all the keep leagues last weekend. One thing I'm not out in though is the old game day squad, boys.
Here we go. Here's the weekly
top 10
plug
on
for
game
the
day squad at the moment. It wins a prize apparently. So if you don't know game day squad, check it out. It's like
I think he's definitely in the team somewhere because
Definitely.
we've had a 15-minute pre-show chat about it as well.
I'm just waiting for
and
my call
I'm just
up.
about to sign up.
Just waiting for my
due to the
call
chat.
up as the official podcaster of Game Day Squad.
And like,
That's all.
if he gets us and we get 3 more people, then he gets like an extra
Yeah,
big,
he'll get like a
special
little
Pokemon
pack or
card.
something,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's just like
Yeah, it should be some sort of reward scheme. Might bring it to him actually. Yeah, but anyway.
pyramid scheme.
If I sign up, can I get like a pink diamond Paddy Dow?
Yeah,
sure.
It's going to be worth nothing
It'd
anyway.
be worth times 1,000. It's still
Yeah.
it's 1,000 times 1,000.
Yeah, probably be
Zero,
removed
zero.
Be removed from the game next year when he's delisted. Anyway, before we get into the round rewind, thank you, Manscaped. Now, Father's Day is coming up, and we have discussed it's probably a bit awkward to buy your dad a ball trimmer for Father's Day. Well, Dossie doesn't like the idea of that anyway. But you can get other things, okay? You can get a pair of jocks. All dads like pairs of jocks. You can get razors for shaving. You can get aftershave. You can get body wash. You can get lots of different stuff. So, yeah, it's what the best thing about this though is like when you've got like a birthday coming up, or maybe not so much birthdays, but Father's Days or whatever, having to go out and just actually like look through the shops and try to find something, just jump on manscaped.com.
Just do it.
Yeah, jump on manscaped.com.
It's your gift sorted.
Use the code KEEPER20, get 20% off and free shipping. Comes to your door. Comes in a nice little box even as well. It's really easy to wrap. I love things that are in squares.
Beautifully,
you know?
beautifully presented.
Yeah, you probably wouldn't even have to wrap it. The box is good enough itself. But yeah. Anyway, yeah, just a tip. Now I'll repeat that. So get 20% off and free shipping with the code KEEPER20 at manscaped.com. Look after your dad. Get him one of those products if you're not comfortable buying a ball trimmer, and go from there. I do recommend the Weed Whacker though for the nostrils.
Yeah, the Nossies.
Yeah,
For everyone who has regular nostrils.
Yes,
Yeah.
very, very important. Anyway, let's get into the round rewind. Little freestyle Manscaped plug there. Didn't even read the scripts.
Gee whiz.
Still
It's not
recording.
like you, mate.
Still recording that. Damn it. Just do that bit.
He's living on the edge.
Anyway, let's get into the round rewind.
What's that word? It's old improv hef over here.
Quite the round rewind. Let's get into it. Friday night was St Kilda versus Brisbane. Dossie, you had a look at that one. What'd you see, mate?
I did. I've never asked. Is that you playing is that you on the riff?
Not the guitar. It's the drums. Oh, the lead is drums, bass. Yeah, but not the actual chords, because I'm not very good with chords in guitar. So that's a sample. But everything else is.
Bit of behind the scenes.
Yes.
What did I see? Let's talk about the game winner, Cam Rayner. We've been wondering for quite some time whether this guy was the real deal. Coming off the ACL this year, coming into a season, we thought it might take him some time to warm up. Looks like he's going to be coming into form right at the right time of the year for the Lions for their finals push, and also for us to let us know that he's absolutely a bona fide keeper league prospect here. He's still playing a fair bit of forward. Doesn't matter at the moment for his scoring. He's definitely looking like, as promised, the next guy in those waves in the mould of your De Goeys and your Petrarcas, who eventually is going to move into that midfield, just that powerful midfielder that's getting it done forward right now. 3 goals in the last quarter to absolutely turn the game on its head, won them the game. And, he was just explosive as always. And I'm just looking at his CBAs. still just attending for the season 26% on average and 13% for this game. So he's doing it as a forward. He's going to do it as a midfielder in the future, and he's going way up in my how I'm thinking about him as a keeper league prospect right now.
Yeah, like I love the sentiment, and like I love Rayner because I own him and I want him to be good, but I just 4 goals, fantasy score, still in the 80s.
Did you see the game? It's the eye test. It's the eye test.
I know. He did look classy.
He scored 84, 18 touches, 4 marks, 1 tackle, 4 goals, 10 contested possessions as a forward.
I don't want to talk too much about it, but it's just the whole, like, I've thought the whole time, is he going to be quality over quantity type thing?
No, but that's okay. Which forward ever is able to do this? Like, as in, it's always these guys we're looking at and what they're going to be in the midfield. I still think he's a midfielder long term.
Yeah.
And that's why it's like you're able to do this as a forward. You're going to be that guy that can still be a forward mid long term. Like, it's just he's a good keeper prospect.
So compare him to a guy who went big last week, which was Zach Bailey, who went shit this week. How do you see? They're both forwards technically. They're both coming off good scores off 4-goal games. Like, who's ahead of the pack when you're talking about the next, key midfielder in that Brisbane Lions side?
Well, it's tough because I always see Bailey's always going to be, for me, I've always seen him just as a forward. I haven't seen, I know there's scope for him to also move into the midfield, but I see Rayner much more as that prospect that can move into the midfield. Like, the way that he explodes out of stoppage and stuff like that, and especially, like I said, I thought it was always going to take a year. Everyone always tends to take that year coming back from an ACL to really get their groove back. And he's just starting to right now. So I'm just thinking there's
a
big breakout.
Him?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Big breakout next year for Cam Rayner. Just mark it in. Mark it in.
Means there'll be one extra good player in the pool next year.
From my team. True. Hey, that made finals, that team. I was just joking. But
Funnily enough, there's not a heap of players to talk about. Obviously, we're at the pointing of the year here, but like Windhager on the other side of things. The St Kilda Guns, a rising star, clamped God in this game. Kept Lachie Neale back to 60 points. I think he was very similarly restrictive in his past few weeks. He's playing a lot more midfield. Pick 47 in the draft just seems like an absolute steal, doesn't it?
Now it does, yeah.
He's also getting that done a little bit on the offensive end as well. In this game, he got loose. He had 21 disposals, 7 marks. So it didn't affect him that he was, putting the clamp job on Lachie Neale. He still got away from him. And, Lachie was frustrated having Windhager on him. So, anyway, he's just another prospect that's come to light. I think there's a spot for him in the midfield going forward as well. And at such a young age doing this, awesome signs. There's another player. There's another couple of prospects for St Kilda that I really like going forward. It's hard to see whether they're going to really break out, and it's probably more of these two of more long-term prospects. Whereas obviously Windhager's kind of shown that he might be ready right now. But Mitch Owens for me is a big prospect. Like Brett Ratton pre-season was talking about how he's the next Jack Steele, but the way he goes about it, I mentioned it on the waiver wire pod. I like this guy if your waivers are weirdly still open, which hopefully they're not, but if they are, stash him away. I think if you're in that sort of long-term, if you're in the long-term rebuild type situation, Mitch Owens to me is looking like he scored 66 points in this game, but he's got such a strong overhead mark. He went into the ruck. Get this, went into the ruck, won 3 hit-outs against the Big O.
He's pretty big, isn't he?
So that's unreal. Like, he's so explosive, can jump, can mark, contested. And for a young kid at his age as well, another big body. Mitch Owens for me, I don't want to say it because obviously Windhager's shown enough, but I probably like him more as a keeper. I just think he looks like a Josh Dunkley, if I dare say so myself.
Are you going to go on the record and put it out there to the listeners?
I will.
What you spoke about in our group chat?
That he might be making his way onto the bus. He might be there.
Well, we might have to go through the buses next week.
He might be on the bus.
End of season.
That's a very big call to bring a guy who's played like 6 games on the bus.
It's my style.
Anyways.
It's true.
Anyone else from that game, Dossie?
I just want to touch base again with Nasiah Wanganeen Miller. Just something that I noticed. Bit of thirst.
Okay.
Bit of thirst. Loves a +6. I think he's already shown a lot this year. Low time on ground, 67% time on ground for 63 points. I just like the way he plays. So
on the
he's
wing
definitely
still there.
Yeah. So he's definitely a prospect I'm just looking out for in the future. You probably can pick him up again next year or whenever he pops, but liking the look of him.
All right. Let's move on to Bulldogs versus the Giants with Case.
Now, I just want to discuss a couple of things about this game for people like me who are heading into a grand final this week and how the kind of game style was played. So like the Giants just wanted to possess the footy, which led to a couple massive scores from their defenders.
One stat, I think it was, in the first 2 minutes, the Giants had 13 marks, I think it was.
I think they had 50 more touches than
the
Dogs or something. For
I was watching it with watching with my old man on the weekend. He's a doggy supporter, so it was kind of fun. But yeah, like the first 5 minutes was just all Giants keepies off, but not doing anything with it. It was just pure fantasy. Like
I reckon I looked at like the stats breakdown after 5 or 10 minutes, and like most Giants players were negative meters gained.
Yeah,
but they were just chipping back.
Kenilio was on like 38 by then, and so was Himmelberg.
It's looked like a late season game plan shift, hasn't it? Because it's happened last week as well.
So definitely take that into account. If you either up against these Giants players or have a Giants player, maybe worth bringing on this week. Now the second game of the week, so definitely loopholeable options too, especially for some of those, maybe a defender or something. So the other one is how the Dogs set up. So Steph Martin is going to ruin a few flag chances with Tingles. Now, Timmy English was very, very good from a real footy point of view. He'd have 1 goal, 25 hitouts, but he was so good up forward as that kind of, addition to Ugle-Hagen and Norton. However, he only had the 10 touches because he just wasn't as much in that CBA mix. So the good thing is, I suppose the plan worked, or the bad thing is the plan worked for the Dogs. They got the win. Their finals hopes are still alive. So kind of tough to see Bevo flipping that heading into this week. So just be a bit mindful. Maybe not worth the VC this week for
Steph Martin doing much for him though? 6 touches, 8 hitouts.
It was just that presence in the CBAs, and he played 50% time on ground.
Why do they want that?
Is it just because the key forwards have not been firing?
That, and I suppose that just gives them a bit more flexibility. Another big guy out on field that doesn't have to be back when they're struggling with. Yeah. But English was playing a lot up forward as that kind of, floating a bit more up forward than he was that kick behind play. So
Bruce and Norton doing nothing for him. Jamara's been pretty exciting, but not kicking goals.
And Jamara's been getting a lot of the ball up the ground.
Yeah, that's right.
But look, they need to win again this week, so I really can't see much flipping there, which is bad news, I think.
I think that's such a weird call. Such a weird call, even for Bevo. It's like he's washed.
You'd expect this from Stewie G, but
exactly. I don't know. I didn't see the game, but clearly 6 touches and 8 hitouts, and he played half a game.
Can you get the CBA numbers actually for the Dogs game?
Yeah, he had 7. He had 7.
Steph or English?
No, sorry. English had way more than that. Steph had 7, and English had 13. Yeah. But I don't know. It's just baffling.
It was bad. It was bad.
Anyways, beware.
Lockie Hunter came back onto the wing. He was okay for his 17 touches, but it did mean that Jack McRae went back and spent some time in the middle, and Adam Trullo was basically based at halfback. So
he was halfback last week.
Yeah, so that's probably where it's laid out. And then Lockie Ash and Harry Perryman kind of ran with Liver and Bailey Smith at times. So that's that. But anyway, Sam Darcy, talked about him last week. He had 68 points. Just very impressive start to his career. Look, he's raw, but I think in a dynasty league, I think he's one I'd be desperate to get on my list. Like someone you can carry for a couple of years, because I think a couple of years' time, he's just going to take that next step really quickly. So don't be too patient with him. I'd get him before he disappears. Yeah. One of the guys who is a massive waiver wire target this week is Nick Haynes. Had 123 points on the weekend, 15 marks, 25 touches, and even just rolled down and kicked the goal. He's averaging 55 this year. His previous best was a 91, and he's come out purely on the back of this GWS kick mark kind of game style. Pulls out a 123. Only 46% owned, so definitely worth a stream in a grand final this week, especially as they're the second game. So have a look at him. Another guy who might be worth looking at is Jake Riccardi. He had 73, did some nice things again, kicked a couple goals. But look, with Harry Himmelberg absolutely dominating down back, I think this bodes well for Jake Riccardi up forward longer term. So if you're keen, I think he's got enough tricks to be one of those handy forwards you pick up off the draft pool each year, and can bust out a 70 odd kind of average maybe.
I think also defenders against Dogs, looking at some of those massive scores. Obviously, like we said, it's probably compounded by the fact their game styles switched to a very mark-happy game, but also Dogs giving up shitloads of points to defenders at the moment.
Yep. And lastly is Leek Alia. He had 61 points. One for the future. I think he's a genuine beauty. Not necessarily a fantasy point of view, but I think he's going to be a super long-term defender down there. Like him and Sam Taylor are going to cause headaches for years. 14 touches, 5 marks. Absolutely nailed Aaron Norton in a tackle. Norton tried to take him on and steamroll him, and Leake just said, boy, I'm taking you down with me. And Aaron Norton gave away a 50 because he was not too impressed by getting caught holding the ball. But I think he's just one to keep in the back of your mind because I think he's got a bit there and is a very, very good intercept marker. So just get him on your, keep him in your mind for next year.
All right, ready to move on? Mm-hmm. All right, on to the Crows versus North Melbourne. So, for mine, just first a tip of the cap, Shane McAdam had 86, kicked 2 goals and laid 6 tackles, and involved in a lot of scoring passages as well. So, good game for him, but not sold on him. Needs to do it a few more times before I'm going to get excited about him. Darcy and I had this chat on the Waiver Wire pod when you were on your way, Kays. Darcy Fogarty. Got a sneaky suspicion he might be good one day.
I actually brought him in off the waivers last week.
And did you field him for the 80?
I didn't because I had a loophole pop, so I was like, didn't need to call him, but he was ready to go if needed.
Against North is a fair, good call. But yeah, look, he needs to kick a bag each week to really score, but he might get that opportunity a bit more. But we're talking as well, like once Tex goes in a year's time, he's going to be the main focal point. He doesn't miss when he gets the shot inside 50. Like, he's going to kick a few goals.
He 4-1 on the weekend.
Yeah, like so good.
And he's probably going to kick 3 or 4 goals most weeks because, as he said, he takes every opportunity he gets.
Yeah. So, he's one we're liking for the future. Maybe not next year, but maybe the year after. I think he's going to be just the number 1 guy they're going to kick to each time. Harry Schonberg, Case.
Building late.
74 points. So not a huge fantasy game, but had 18 centre bounce attendances and 3 like clearances, and one of which was just like super, super impressive. Well, like part of the C's ran through. Moved really well too. Kicked an awesome goal where he just kind of faked someone, went through and smacked it through. Celebrated real hard too.
Good play.
Need to go to the bench and have a spell for a fair while after that one, but good classic Harry Schonberg style. Still not sold the fantasy game, but there's some real signs of him being a good player.
I'm hearing a little weakening, and we're hearing a 4th-year breakout here from my boy.
I've said the whole time, I think he's going to be good, just not good at fantasy. That's all, because he doesn't spend enough time on the field.
What I'll just say is, because I was just checking this game because I had my classic captain, LDU. Don't mind, he went all right.
Yeah.
I checked the quarter-by-quarter stats, and I was like, how many did LDU? He didn't have a big last quarter. Noticed Harry Schonberg leading the charge in that last 40 points in the last quarter.
Massive.
So out of those 74, 40 came in the last. Just an interesting little stat there.
Just on that, Ben Keys went to LDU for a while in the second quarter and did a bit of a tag job, and he was just kind of in a few different roles. Didn't stay there for the whole game, but
in the second quarter when he had 12 touches.
Yeah, exactly.
Nice
well, I think it was,
Keys.
or maybe it was the third quarter, I can't remember, but it was some stage they tried to line him up because he was going off, but then they just brought him off him and eventually anyway when they got on top. But just interesting that he doesn't really have a set role at the moment. Schonberg's kind of replaced him in the midfield a bit as well.
Showdown specialist this week, Benny.
Hope so.
Well, yeah, when they want to win, they seem to put him back in the guts. So you might get that grand final sugar hit that you're after.
Saying they didn't want to win on the weekend? They did.
Yeah, but they just play with their food a bit more.
That's actually a really good point.
I get what you mean.
Like, that's what they're doing. Yeah. They did it with West Coast. It's like they waited until the game was in trouble and they're like, all right, Keys, midfield.
Yeah.
And he managed to get 40.
Moving on, just quickly, I'm not going to mention too much. I've taught him heaps this year. Just Bailey Scott actually put up a good score. Like last 2 weeks, I'd benched him in my keeper league team because his matchups are horrible. When he has a good matchup, though, he can score okay. I'm just thinking he does lose DPP next year, which makes him almost unkeepable as a mid-only, which is going to suck. But anyway, it is what it is. One I am liking for the future is Lockie Young. So he's put up some really reasonable scores this year. Had 73 points. He's got a nice role for fantasy, that halfback role. We've seen Luke McDonald still in defence, but he's not really finding much of the footy. Like I said, Bailey Scott's up on the wing. Hall's only got a year left, most likely. So he's only 23 years old as well. So, yeah, I reckon he's one to just kind of keep your eye on. Maybe not next year, or maybe just keep developing next year. But I think he'd easily average like a 75 next year, and then maybe push to an 80 one day. Depends on how that goes with like new coaches and stuff like that and who they play and things like that. But right now, in this role, he looks all right. So, yeah. That's it for me.
I just had an epiphany.
Epiphany?
Epiphany.
Epiphany.
I forgot what it was called. Epiphany. This guy's going to be available in a couple of leagues. So I just realised we missed this on the waiver wire. I was looking at the injuries for the North Melbourne players. You got Jed Anderson going down, Jaden Stevenson and Jack Zeeble all going down.
Yeah.
Taron Thomas just had a big
That's
game
right,
with the
he did
VFL.
too. Yeah.
And he's
3
only
goals and
63% owned in Ultimate
Yeah.
Footy. That's a smash player. He'll come in and I reckon, go straight into that midfield.
Okay.
Last game.
Don't
Watch
mind
out. Taz Thomas, big final game. Bit of sugar
Hopefully
there.
not.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Timmy Scrode owns him, doesn't he? Anyway. he doesn't listen to this podcast. Everyone know he doesn't listen to the podcast, I don't think. But anyway, move on. Next game.
Gold Coast v Geelong. Gold Coast absolutely were hapless against Geelong. They just dominated. But for the Catters, Brandon Parfitt had 104. Really just reminded us how good he can actually be. 28 touches and a goal. I think he should be a lot better player than his 76 average suggests. Look, he's been consistent this year, but we just haven't seen that ceiling. So he's one who's going to be interested in see if he holds centre forward status, because if he doesn't keep that, forward DPP, I reckon he will find his way to some draft pools, because he's just putting up those, so-so midfielder kind of scores. So if you are keen, you might actually be able to get him kind of cheap or even off a draft pool next year. So just kind of see how he goes throughout the rest of the season and monitor him from there. Be remiss of me never to talk about Maxi Holmes on this pod. 90 points from him. He is
Can we
just...
do GM?
Oh, because...
Let's do it before the end of the season.
We can do it now. 2 goals, 20 touches on the wing, 500 metres gain. He's just a workhorse. Yeah, even with no forward status next year, which he won't have, I'm keeping him 1,000% because
absolutely.
He's that next absolute stud in that Geelong side. So happy to 2G him. He is my
I'll just check his ownership status. 65% owned. So yeah,
crazy.
He's going inside next year, surely too. As they've got Selwood Danger that need to move out of there.
Down. Guthrie's not young,
and we saw him get a taste last week and go 98 because he can tackle. That's what we like about him too. So
he's got hunger.
Yeah, that's the breakout for sure.
I just wanted to look at Joel Selwood had 89 from only 65% TOG, and Danger had 83 from 69% TOG. So grand final matchups this week. It's going to be interesting because the Cats play the Eagles.
Top's sewn up, isn't it?
Top's sewn up.
Yeah.
They can't lose top spot. So do they start... You're not probably going to... Maybe do rest some of these guys for 2 weeks? I don't know.
Maybe they do.
Because Danger... Sorry, they've said Selwood's actually... Well, Selwood has been playing really well when he's had a week off. So do they give him 2, or do they just manage their time like they did obviously on the weekend because they were smashing the Suns? So just be wary because you might not get a full, 70-80% game time out of these 2 guys. So just think about that this week if you've got them. On to the Suns. Jack Lukosius had 73, playing a bit of that hybrid role, bit of forward, bit of back. Dossie, do you reckon he's a massive buy low candidate for next year, Jack Lukosius? They got Chol, they got Levi. Hopefully Ben King comes back next year. Should be back in that back line. I think he's a buy low for sure.
Absolutely. I just hope we do see a slight shift in that disgusting game plan they're rolling at the moment, where it's just get the ball forward with as few disposals as possible. I see them going with that one more time, which is going to probably limit him a little bit, but I really think so for sure.
Good coach that Stewie, yeah.
He is.
We both rate Lukosius so highly. So
he's got such a good kick. Elijah Holland, 68 points. Got our first glimpse of him this week, or I did, I should say, and definitely looks a player. Great size, 18 touches and a goal. Hopefully keeps that forward status, which makes him a free swing next year. So owners should be licking their lips because he's just getting that nice bit of game, those games into him late in the season. So
I don't know if he does though. Keep it. How many games do you have to play?
Well, it also depends on what he did in the VFL. Like it goes by that too.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. So
because he's just playing wing. I think he was in the VFL too.
It's tough,
but there's not a good game that's gone by without him kicking a snag. He runs forward so hard.
Hopefully that helps. But
yeah.
Dusty McPherson had 60 points and a slow start to the game, but he's actually playing a lot in defence. So maybe one to look at. He's only 36% owned. So if you need a random guy to get off the waiver wire this week, they got the Roos this week. So hopefully they can possess the ball a bit and 16 touches from 65% TOG, so going at an okay rate. But if you're desperate for someone off the waivers, look at him. Couple to finish off with. Your boy, Dossie, Alex Davies, 35 points. Now, I know you get a lot of time for him, and you watch the footy and you go, geez, he does some good things, and then you don't see him for like a quarter, and then you go, man, he does another good thing. So I was looking back at some of the stats. I've got a lot of time for him. I'm not sure that Stewie Jew does.
No.
55% game time he played on the weekend. And I looked back through his stats for the year. He's played 14 games this year and averages 61% time on ground. I'd like to at Sir Swamp Thing and see if there's any player in the AFL who's played that many games and not got on the ground as much as him. It's just mind-blowing because I suppose the good thing is he's going to be a sleeper next year. So, you can probably get him cheap.
To be honest, with this one, I just think it is the tank's not quite there yet. He's still, how old is he? 19?
He debuted in the last round of last year. So
I just think it is that tank with him. which I'm not too concerned about. I won't put that one on Stewie just yet. But yeah, it's a controversial relationship I've got with Alex Davies, actually, because he's obviously stealing time from some other people that I would like to see in the side as well. But
someone else come in and get 65%, 55%.
Yeah, somebody else could be doing that.
Or James Chitterson come in and get 30% or whatever it was.
Yeah.
But look, Alex Davies had 13 CBAs on the weekend, so that's hopefully a good sign of things to come. And yeah, be remiss of me not to touch on Braden Fiorini's 149 points in the VFL.
You joke. Oh, my goodness.
149 points in the
massive.
VFL.
Second highest score of the week, wasn't
taking the
2 goals and, I don't know, 35 touches and, you know.
Yeah, no. Don't need that guy in the AFL.
Hopefully Stewie brings him in for a retirement game this week.
Anyways, let's move on to Melbourne versus Carlton. Disclaimer before we get into this one, I didn't actually watch it. 2 of my mates and Kay's Lee's mates, Pugs and Zanks, they were at the game.
You missed probably the best game of the round too.
Yeah, so yeah. I didn't watch it because I had to put my son to bed and I was like, well, this has already started. I might as well watch the West Coast game from the start.
Yeah.
But anyway, so they took some notes for me. So thank you to those guys who looked over this one. But the first part of the message actually said, Jake Melksham, tip of the cap, and that is all. So, but anyway, he scored 94 points and kicked 4 goals. Playing up forward is like a key target, I guess. I didn't see it, but yeah, sounds a bit strange. But yeah, look, I don't know. I'd probably only consider him if you get points for getting punched by your teammates. But yeah, he's not a player for me.
Poor Milky.
Will Setterfield. Now, this is an interesting one. So he had 19 centre-bounce attendances and 99 points on the back of that. Now, obviously, Kennedy, Chera, Hewitt, and Paddy Dow all out.
Permanently out.
Yeah, after that Cripps decision, poor Paddy. He moved into the middle as a result. 26 touches on that one. I wouldn't think it lasts long term when everyone's fit and in the side, and you know that
they've
sort of
all been
stuff.
bloody ruled out for the rest of the year, haven't they?
Yeah.
Like Hewitt's out.
They're all
Kennedy's
out,
definitely ruled out.
I think Cheris might come back in.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I said, he might be a good streamer option this week in the grand finals if you need him there. But like, I don't think he'll be doing it next year when everyone's fit. But yeah, one to think about this week. Jack Silvani had 91 points. Kind of started forward, kicked the goal, but then did some ruck jobs and kind of just floated around as well. He's just a good player worth owning, and he needs to get 2G4P one day because we talk about him too much.
I'm going to pick him up next year.
And Mitch McGovern, the 75, just continued that half-back role. Now, I wrote here just like as a note, defenders against Melbourne, but Pugs also reckons they kind of clamped down on that a bit and it wasn't as chip happy and free against Melbourne. So he reckons they're kind of shifting their game plan a bit. So I didn't see it, so I just wanted to watch. I've got written here, is Liam Jones making a return?
Yeah, but not to Carlton, apparently.
Oh, okay, cool. That doesn't matter then.
Carlton are apparently into Fisher Mackesy.
Yeah, right. So he's not playing at the Crows, is he? So, yeah, not a bad pickup, really, if they need another key defender. But yeah, I don't know. That doesn't really matter then. But no, I think McGovern continues this role going forward. So
I think it's a good role. It's a juicy role.
Yeah. Cool. We'll move on to the next game. Fremantle versus West Coast.
Interesting, though, just Doc. I know he's way 2G, but
Yeah, midfield.
playing midfield this week as well was pretty interesting.
That's one we probably should have
Obviously, there's
mentioned
somebody out. But
on the Webwire article. There was who's the defender that was been injured all season who could be coming back this week?
Williams.
Oh, Zach Williams. Yeah, Zach Williams. Yeah.
He could come back, which could keep Doc in the midfield, but he might be a pickup if he's on waivers because people have dropped him because he's injured.
Yeah,
unless Paddy Dow comes back and takes his midfield role.
Yeah, so Zach Williams might be one you want to think about as well. All right, we'll move on to Freo versus West Coast. Sonny Walters, he wound back the clock a little bit, had 100 points, kicked 2 goals, rolled up to some stoppages too, which is kind of cool, just like Sonny of old, really kind of getting that little bit of midfield, not getting CBAs, but kind of rolling up and helping out there. It was a good score, but I think his days of being a fantasy star are few and far between, so I'm going to move on from that. Jordan Clark, I'm going to 2G4P, 82 points. He's just got a really fantasy-friendly role-off halfback, and he's a fantasy-friendly player himself, so I just want to get him off the show because I talk about him too much. But yeah, he's going to be good. This guy I've been dying to talk about for weeks, but he hasn't put up a score good enough. So he got 69 this week, so I thought it was only fitting that we talk about Brandon Walker. So there's just something I really enjoy about watching him. Now, there's a few kind of things that work against him, but he's only 19 years old, and he's kind of cemented his place in the side at the moment. Those bursts off halfback that he does, he's so fast, and if he can kind of maintain that pace, he might be a player they want the ball in hand going forward because he looks bloody good when the ball is in his hands. He's a good tackler as well, I think, But he's been consistently in the 60s this year, and I know there's just a lot of mouths to feed in that defence, but I don't know, he's a smoky for me for the future, just maybe in a couple of years' time. I just like the look of him. Like, you know when there's this player that you like the look
first
of?
ever eye test?
I always feel like this. What are you talking about?
You're data. You're the data. You need to crunch the numbers, put it in a spreadsheet.
That's
and it pops out an answer.
I need 3 or 4 weeks of proof that it's actually real.
No. That's way too much proof.
Usually. But I like the look of him, just the kind of way he goes about it. And just kind of moves like other good fantasy halfback flankers. That's all.
I'm with you, by the way. I've seen him a few times and been like, oh yeah, I really like the way he's gone about it. And then after the game, been like, 40.
No, he gets 60s most weeks, but it's like 50s and 60s. But Xavier O'Neill is the last one. He plays for West Coast, obviously, not for Freo like the others, but 111 points. We said this on the way pod. He doesn't really look like an AFL footballer when you look at his mugshot. Like, he looks a little bit nerdy, But then you look at him, like his stature. He's a big boy out there. Just looks powerful anyway. And it was a wet game, so he had 11 tackles in this game too. Went forward, kicked the goal. I think it was out of a stoppage too. But yeah, averaging 85 from his last 3. He just might be one. I know, Dossie, you're a bit sceptical because there's a lot of midfielders to roll back through that.
Dom Sheed's the biggest one.
Yeah,
then you got
Yo.
Elliot Yo. Well, depending on where everyone lands and where if they move the decks around a bit. But yeah, obviously Jai Cully's going to be a big part of that midfield going
I just get the feeling they might want to try to develop him a bit.
He's got another year in him.
He's always been a pretty good scorer in the VFL historically.
Waffle.
Sorry. Yeah.
But yeah, so he's just one I think they might develop. He showed some good signs. Again, it was a game that suited him, like the conditions suited him, I think, as well. But yeah, like the look of him too. Move on. Richmond versus Hawthorn with you, Dos.
Yes, and I've got a nice little player, nice little rookie stash option for your off-season in Kaiser Sonzi. That's Tyler Sonzi. You guys obviously haven't seen the movie I'm talking about.
No. What is
Kaiser Soze from Usual Suspects.
No. I'm the worst for movies, though. Okay, it's probably better than me.
That is shocking. As if you guys don't know already.
Oh, you know what? I've never seen Grace. Olivia Newton-John, rest in peace.
I've watched that like
I've never even
50 times.
I've never even seen Grace.
Well, start getting this nickname because this is the Dossie original nickname, Kaiser Sonzi. Look, he looks like a really good rookie option, I think. He's jumped a few of those other Richmond rookies, I think, in the pecking order, like your Thompson Dowes at the moment and your Collier Dawkins and even maybe some of those other guys that maybe a Jack Ross, I'm not sure. But I think in the long term, he's going to be moving into that midfield. And right now he's playing that nice little high half forward role that we've seen a guy like Kane Lambert, pour one out for him. Had a great career and he's now hung him up. But he's going to step into that sort of a role now, I think, playing in that high half-forward role, moving down into the midfield. He had 3 centre-bounce attendances. And look, they were raving about him on the broadcast and I could see why, because he was getting involved in a lot of great plays. So awesome work for him and I really like him as a stash.
All in on that. Those little articles I did halfway through the season, I wrote about him because we've talked about all those Dows and those, and they're just not, they haven't come on.
Nobody just grabbed it by the horns and he's come in and he's shown something.
Yeah, I love him.
The other players I just want to talk about, just a little bit of a role change. It was interesting. I noted, and it's probably just the trickle-down effect for if they continue to try this, but Sicily had some inside midfield time in this game. So 6 centre-bounce attendances, but he seemed to be at stoppage around the ground as well. So he was kind of just like, even when he wasn't in the centre-bounce, he was kind of just sitting off the back of the stoppage and playing as an extra midfielder. So it was really interesting to see him there. I think your boy Dylan Moore dropped his back a little bit in this game to play a bit more forward. But they're just trying a few things late in the season here, Hawthorn. And yeah, that was kind of a notable one for me, seeing him roll around there, which may open up if they do that long term or if that's something they want to look at, it kind of opens up the relevance, I think, for maybe your Hardwicks and your Scrimshaws to get off the leash a bit more, given that there won't be that big mouth to feed. But obviously with Tom Lynch kicking 8 snags in the game, they might need to put Sicily back there a little bit more, I think.
The that I heard, I think it was James Sicily's first CBA since like 2017 or something like that.
And he kicked his first of the year in this game too.
Yeah, nice.
So
another player I've got my game day squad there, Dossie.
Oh, there you go, mate. Cha-ching. Tom Lynch just kicked 8 goals for 134 against me in my prelim. Thank you very much. Tip of the cap for him. He'll be going hard this week as well for that, potentially that Coleman with
2 of them. Yeah, sorry.
Jeremy Cameron's out this week with a hammy.
But I think Hawkins is on 55 as well. And so he needs about 8 to match.
Yep. So let's have a look, because I just thought it was just a bit of a talking point. Guys going for that Coleman.
Hawkins against West Coast is
Hawkins
massive.
Against West Coast.
The only guy up there now too.
Yeah, because Charlie Curnow's on 62 at the top.
Yeah.
Then you've 59, so he's going to be out this week. Tom Hawkins, 55, so he's got 7 to make up on Curnow, who's got the Pies in a must-win match as well.
I reckon he'll get 7.
And they're not going to be able to feed Curnow. They have to win that game.
Yeah.
Hawkins, obviously, they can just feed him all day
He'll
long.
get 7.
Holy
so
shit.
stream him.
Yep.
Stream him.
The other player, Tom Lynch, also on 55 with Hawkins now. So he's just coming off
that 2 metre Peter's kicked 50 goals.
Yeah.
He's up
He's
there.
been unreal. I remember I mentioned, and he hasn't come off the ground like all year as well, like 100% told every game. Anyway, so it's just one to watch, that last little battle. And then I just want to quickly touch on who we think is going to be ruck now that we've heard, because this conversation came up midweek, I think, before we recorded last week.
Talk about it.
McAvoy, I mentioned last week actually that I thought he might be hanging him up, and Buzz Dossier again just looking light years ahead. McAvoy then
we both said it
retires.
potentially, but nothing's been announced yet.
McAvoy then retires. So the Max Lynch Reeves debate rages on.
Well, I put out a poll on Twitter, and for the listeners, who they think will be the next number 1 ruck, and it was a resounding 70% win to Ned Reeves. Now,
What a surprise. The
Kay's-
people they see in
It's
front of their
unfortunate
eyes.
they're all wrong.
Yeah.
It is.
Kay's actually thinks our listeners are all nuffies, actually.
They
And
are.
our listeners are all nuffies, actually.
They
and
are.
he's always right. So,
Well,
yeah.
my track record speaks for itself.
Yeah, sure. Anyway,
How many grand finals you win, bro?
how many? I won. I won
you-
one.
No, stop
Oh.
living in the past, mate.
Oh,
It doesn't get you
okay.
anywhere.
So after that grand final finish, we don't have to talk about it anymore.
Me and Dos Lightyear are fucking miles ahead.
You know the day. You
We're
can't,
like-
look, if we were at a draft, you know I'd
infinity
smash
and
it,
beyond.
alright?
That's right.
I can't just overhaul my team in one. You know? Shut up, Siri. I don't know where that's from. Hey, my team was supposed to finish bottom and it finished 4th, Kay. So
But
Max Lynch, 17 disposals, 22 hitouts in the VFL this week. I reckon he'll play.
surely if he was playing now, like they
why are
usually
you
roll
being
with 2.
so rude? Literally
Very
had like
rude.
so much concussion and
He's had
injury.
6 weeks in the VFL now.
He's
No, he
he'd
hasn't.
be like a
He
Cape
didn't-
League
he didn't
favourite.
play
He'd
last
probably
week.
come on the show.
So they have a bye though.
He's a good man.
5 weeks. I think that was about 4 or 5
He hasn't
scores.
played VFL for ages, man.
No, he played. I guarantee it. Have a look.
On
Um,
the week,
For the VFL app to currently load.
I will up because I can look at the
should
scores.
just check on the website.
Yeah, that's where I'm going to get that from. Treadwater, I'm 2 seconds away from getting it up. He's had since he's been injured, like he's
Okay.
come back and had about 5 games.
incorrect.
Oh my! Why isn't the website loading?
Why would you
Anyway.
not trust the Max Lynch fan club president?
Here we go. Played. Go through. Oh, I didn't spell Lynch right. Lynch right. He played round 16, 17, 18. Had 2 weeks off. I think one of them was a bye. I'm not sure the other one was. Probably injured, was it? Come back and had 88. But in this time, Reeves and they went with Reeves and McAvoy. When Reeves got injured, he's had 2 games where he was playing still in the VFL.
You know what the answer's going to be? They're both just going to play together.
Exactly.
Or
But Lynch,
none of them play.
Yeah, and both just be shit.
Lynch is going
Lynch tried to avoid Grundy at Collingwood, and now he's just going to come and get him at Hawthorn.
I think if that doesn't happen, I personally think what would be the forward ruck option and Reeves would be the main ruck option and rotate. That's because Reeves was playing up forward ruck anyway, and he was pretty good before he got injured.
All right, let's move on.
Yeah, anyway, because Ned Reeves is awesome. Sydney
That's a
versus
stretch.
Collingwood. Dylan Stevens is the guy I want to talk about. So he has 75 points. Locked up that wing at Sydney at the moment. Should keep it wherever he goes. He might get traded, but I think if he does get traded, it's probably going to be better for him, really. Depends where he goes, but I think it's probably
Crow.
And I think we've tried so many wingers this year that haven't really worked out too much. I think, what's number 14's name again? Soligo is going to go into the midfield eventually. So he's probably their most promising at the moment. They've
He's
got
a gun.
Mitch Hinge on the other wing. There's definitely a spot there if Dylan Stevens is there. So, he works hard, gets to the right spots to receive the footy. He's a classic winger where he'll float around the outside of the pack and kind of get the hands out and then get it on the boot. So, does that well. I'm not sure of the ceiling because I'm not sure how much contested stuff he'll get, but he did kind of do a bit of that at Sample level, I think, when he was a junior too. So, I don't know. Wait and see. Sam Reid, I think he's just one worth owning if this role continues going forward next year. Ladham's carved up in the VFL, but it depends what happens with Hickey and that as well. So he had 81 points, so interesting to see. John Noble, 91 points, nothing special here, pops up every now and then, kind of on the wing and the halfback for times. Like I said, not consistent enough to really consider. Braden Maynard, he really should be 2G 4P, I think. I think he averaged over 80 last year, but he got brought back to the pot a few weeks ago. Started in the midfield, interestingly enough. Went to the first CBA, but settled in defence later on. Does enough for each week. I think I might be leaning towards keeping him next season as he matures a bit more as a player. Josh Dacos, so he had 85 points. I didn't actually realise this because I haven't watched heaps of Collingwood lately, but he's really ramped up his CBAs in the last few weeks and putting up some better scores as a result too. So there's some real good signs for the future with him. So yeah, good to see that. I thought he was just playing out in the wing, but yeah, he's putting up some good scores in the middle too. Now, the Ryan Clark tag we're going to mention, so he went to Nick Dacos this week and tagged him out of the game pretty much until they threw him forward late and he got a few touches. I think he kicked the goal too, Dacos. This one. But next week they got St Kilda. So Jack Sinclair is the one that's probably going to look out there. So he might be people in fantasy
in the last game.
Yeah.
You need a big score from Sinclair.
In fantasy finals too. So that might be a bit of a concern there. But anyway, I think at record speed, we're into the last game of the round.
It's been a bad week, but it's great that Port are sticking with Ken. And after their nation bombers on Sunday afternoon, they might as well re-sign Ken, I think.
You've got
that was a deal, I reckon.
You've wrote resign here.
No.
Do you mean re-sign or resign?
No, well, I've got it for both coaches, and one's one and one's the other. So I think it's done, Ken.
Now, can I just say, Port fans are getting a cop in the media because of the reaction to wanting to sack Hinkley after the Richmond game and whatever. And, a 10-year coach that's, achieved absolutely nothing, has a 30% win-loss record against top 8 sides. And, you got Caro complaining about Port. You got Nick Rewalt complaining about Port fans. And then, so we're not allowed to want our coach gone after 10 years of achieving nothing. But at the minute that Essendon say they're going to get rid of Truck Rutten after 2 years, it's fair play. It's a good call. Is that right?
I don't know. Well, I haven't been listening to what anyone's said about it, so
yeah. I'm not really whether who coaches us.
Yeah.
I think our players just need to just
if you get a new coach, if you can sack your coach, I wish we could sack ours. But anyway,
mate, you won by so much. You must be a mastermind.
Again, it's bottom 8 side. It's what Ken Hinkley does.
We're up and running.
All he can do is beat bottom 8 sides. He's really good against them.
Anywho, his masterstroke on the weekend was playing Jeremy Finlayson as the number one ruckman, 112 points, close to best on ground, 25 touches, 2 goals and a massive 6 hit-outs for the number one ruck. Obviously didn't win many hit-outs, but what he did was just rove to Sam Draper and Nick Bryan beautifully. And basically, as soon as they hit the ground, he was a threat. They take on the Crows this week. Rob might be a tougher matchup. It doesn't look like any of Lycett or Hayes or
he'll still score okay.
Thing. I think they're going to play the same role. So has been not suspended. I just saw before. He is safe to play this week after a dumping tackle. My big question is for you, Hef. Thoughts on him next season? So assuming Scotty Lycett comes back in, like Finlayson will go in with ruck forward status, is he worth either holding or is he worth looking at? What do you reckon they're going to do? Will he still be? He's going to go back as being a second ruck, obviously. Yeah. But is he as that? I know your favourite RFDPP.
Well, yeah. If you look at what happened last week when Brent Teagle came back inside, scored 56, I think it was. I know he wasn't really a backup ruck option, but all the other times he's played with Lycett in the side or Hayes in the side, he hasn't scored well at all. Hasn't really been an option. No. Dropped at some stages. I do think now though he is that ruck forward option. I just don't think. I think we'll roll if everyone's fit. I think we'll roll with Lycett next season and him as the backup. Mm-hmm. But I don't think his fantasy scoring is going to be good enough to kind of retain.
So then, who does that kick out the side?
Probably Georgiades. They were thinking about trading Georgiades, so that's one could go. Either that,
send him to the Dons.
Yeah, I don't really know, but cause we usually roll with 3 talls anyway. So you keep Dixon in there, but Dixon's aging. Like it's very unlikely Dixon's going to be for a whole season anyway. So
True.
I don't know. I just don't think he's going to score as well. A genuine ruck comes back in, as we've seen, as the data suggests so far, Case.
Anyway, good this year, and hopefully will be amazing on Saturday night for me.
He scores okay.
SPP had 99 points, goals and 22 touches, and probably much to say, but he's just been really solid this year, averaging 78. I reckon he can be a nice, safe, like mid-forward option for the next few years. Hasn't really shown a massive ceiling, but he actually has got a pretty nice floor this year. So, really most consistent season. To the Dons, Jaden Laverde, 89 points, and like the Giants, the Dons are very in the back line which is leading to a lot of marks. So Laverde took 10, had 20 touches. He's only 35% owned too, so might be one to look at for your grand final waivers this week. And lastly, Sam Draper, points. I have on him as a fantasy pro. Yes, he's only 23 and potentially has some scope, but just doesn't do enough around the ground. You know, you saw what someone like Finlayson did to him and just burnt him for speed around the ground. So we've been hot on him for a while. I'm happy to cut my losses on someone like Draper and see if he can suck in another coach for a trade in the off season.
He's been a solo rucking though, hasn't he? Like
his scores have been very poor.
How much ruck time was Brian playing in this game?
A bit more of a split, but like yes, Phillips has been around, but like relying on 2 and 2 meter Peter, like that's my concern. Like, what's Draper even averaging this year? Nothing. Yeah. Sam Draper 58.2. Like a lot of people would have invested a fair bit of currency in a startup. He's not. He probably wasn't even. He's probably not even starting ruck. You would have got some backup ruckman in round 25.
That's fair.
Who's probably playing over him.
Still takes a while for rucks to get their groove.
Yeah, you don't reckon buy a lot, give him another.
He's clearly the number one ruck for years to come there.
But look at his stats. Look at his stats. Like he's half outs.
Yeah,
he doesn't do enough around the ground. He averages.
I've mentioned before that's not uncommon.
He averages 6 marks a game. That's unacceptable for a ruckman.
It's not uncommon for rucks to have at least around 35% of their score from hit outs. It's just he's not getting enough kicks and stuff like that.
So he's late to the game of football as well.
I'm kind of with you, Kays, but I just think you've been just a little bit too quick to write him off. I just think he'd get a bit more time.
People are made. I think it's over.
Yeah, but that happens. That happens every. Even if you drafts and stuff like that, you're going to play those on heaps.
No, but if you're starting up one next year, I wouldn't have
he's
him as
going
high
to be pushed down. No, he's going to be pushed down. Of course,
he would have been.
No, anyways. That wraps up the round rewind for the second to last week. If you appreciate the level of research we do each week, supporting the show and become all of the you get all the preseason stuff, which includes all the draftee analysis we do. I think we do a few bonus episodes, don't we? We do a post-final show and a trade week show.
We're a slave to the members.
Oh, at least we get a month off in between each shows this time, though, so it's not too bad.
Nice.
Trade period. Show.
Yeah, so, I love those ones.
We do look after the members in the off season and give them some extra content too. So there's a link in the description below if you wanted to sign up for that. And again, you get all that stuff in the off season. But yeah, we read out the gold members each week, and I'm actually going to finish the last gold members off. So there's about 20 here that I'm going to read. So here we go: Jason Zizoka, Adam Orlando, Sam Brown, John Martin, Joseph Love, Daniel Noble. I thought it was David Noble. If he needs all the coaching help, you can get David. Minchin, Ben Farley, Odie O'Donnell, Reese Gurnon, Nathan Conton, Xavier Munro, Matt Hine, Avtar Singh, Dan Letho, Damien Donnelly, Nate Brook, Jake Rawlings, Will Mattock, Matt Dodman, Hobbs. So that is all the members, gold members. We got to the bottom of the list at the end of the show. Ended up having to do 20 by then to get there.
Thank you all.
Thank you heaps for your support, and thank you to all the other silver members as well for helping us put this show together each week. If we've missed your name on the gold members, please get in touch with us during the week, and we'll read it out next week. Do we have a this week?
Oh, we do.
All right, I better play. Oh shit! I gotta find the trudge theme. Actually, I might just. Wait, it's probably here. Oh, it's here. Sick. I'll just throw to you the trudge watch. Oh yeah, check this comment out on the chat here. Thanks to Jake Manohar, your channel is the best. Love the Lipinski parody song. That's pretty sweet. This random memes commented here. North Melbourne win the grand final. Geelong will come second. Essendon will come third, and Collingwood will come fourth. Mark my words. So, don't really know about that one either, but North Melbourne got a bit of work to do this week, if that's the case.
Okay.
Let's get into Trudge Watch.
Imagine if we know something and everyone loses their premiership points.
Oh, could you imagine? All right, where's the Trudge Watch theme? Here it is. I'll just. Who wants to do the Trudge Watch?
Dusty can.
All right, I'll point that way. When
you got the stats?
When you're in.
Yes, please.
Trudge, watch out, trudge, watch out for that trudge.
Huge game for the Trudge yet again in the VFL this week. Look, 15 disposals, maybe a little down on his usual elite status of production. However, the tackles were still there. Trudge loves a hug. He loves a hug. And it was 10 tackles there. So, Kays, do you have the fantasy score to go with this?
I do. For that 15 touch, 10 cuddle game, 78 points for the Trudge. It was a very low scoring game, I will add. Not too many big disposal numbers. Must have been a very wet day out at Case. But
I think they'd be right up there in the premiership hunt, the old D's in the VFL, wouldn't they? Mm-hmm. Also, as well, and I'm sure when Al is out there racking up 34 touches of his own, it must be Paddy down.
Paddy did have 34 touches, but when everyone else had heaps of cuddles, Paddy could only get one tackle for the game. So,
well, no, especially with the Trudge in there as the
Lockie
it's
Fogarty
hard to get a tackle
14,
with the great man there.
Paddy's just on the outside. Man, kick it to me.
Just trying to get those fantasy points, although could get him from tackling. But anyway,
we'll have to get his opinion on what it's like to be so in close proximity to the Dow.
Yes.
When we have a chat.
All right, let's get into listener questions. The Trudge Watch. All right, let's do it. All right, first question of the night comes from Mitchell Swan. Patrick Dangerfield, what position next year? Is there some chance of midfield forward, you think? What are our thoughts? Dossie?
I think he's been playing midfield when he plays. It's just super low time on ground. I had him in my home league this year, and that seemed to be the case. It was like he'd either come in and play like very low time on ground. Look at his time on ground numbers would be the lowest I'd say his potentially his career.
But you think there's no chance that next year he plays some mid-forward time?
So he's got to get it, though.
Yeah, so he'll start as a mid, though, I think.
Yeah, he definitely will. But I think it's more saying that, like, next year, does he move out of the midfield, go forward, and they bring or something
I think
like
there's
that?
a chance.
Yeah.
There's still a chance. Look at his time on ground so low now.
So often.
Depends how his body goes. But
so
yeah,
often he picks it up.
Yeah.
There's a chance. But you have to read the minds of the coach for the future. It's a bit hard. But yeah, definitely a chance.
I'd say, next year he gets it.
Yeah. At Russ2468, the mighty drop kicks are into their third grand final. My league only allows loopholes if you can put a non-player on the field. I don't have injuries or non-playing rucks, and I'm out of waiver selections. So I have to choose between Gawn versus Brisbane or Darcy versus GWS. Who would you field?
Firstly, good rule. Apply the same rule in our home league. You have to have a non-playing player. You can't just have a vacant
It's pretty
slot.
good going. It's pretty good going to have all your players playing though.
Yeah, no, I'm actually at that kind of problem with my side where I'm playing, so I might have to.
I didn't have a forward not playing all year, and then it was Jake Riccardi for a while, and then he came back in and screwed me over in the finals. But anyway,
I'm going Maxi. I think he's setting himself for a big game, like a top 2 spot for the D's.
I have given Greater Western Sydney the very hard rucks tag on the matchup chart. So if we look at it against Greater Western Sydney in the ruck, on average, rucks average 11 points less than their average against Greater Western Sydney over the last 3 rounds. So now there is a few outliers.
Like
so I think
Bruce
last week
playing
was
the week before and.
Yeah, but then there was because they played Western Bulldogs, so they had the ruck split that kind of made both of them. Well, one of them go a lot lower, but it's over 3 weeks, so yeah, it's interesting. So
I'd still go Gawn.
Yeah, I'm gonna go Gawn too. Who are they playing? They got Brisbane on the Friday, And that is a neutral matchup for Rucks too, and there has been some big scores against.
Yeah,
McInerney
Big
this
O's
year.
let a few through this year.
I'd be going with
And
that.
Maxi's
Maxi's been
hitting
playing
some-
forward though.
He's playing
But
like
he's-
50-50, but he's
But he
just
pulled out a
getting
130
so
when
many
he flying
flags.
and 100 on the weekend.
He's getting
so
more involved playing that role at the moment.
Yeah.
He's hungry.
All right, cool. Let's go on and settle that one. Ruxon S says, unfortunately, already planning for next year. Who are the buys and sells from GWS ahead of next year? Do you expect forwards to be as hard to run with again? Who will gain or lose DPP status? Like, we could go on forever. I reckon, just for our listeners, if you ever want, like, it's probably better to give us a list of options rather than make us search through the whole list of like players, because it's just less time constriction. So if you want our opinion on a few,
Callan Ward
but
would be a big one that's going to go down next year, I think. I think he's just a bit long in the tooth.
He's
still been playing a lot in the midfield.
GWS? Taranto, and was it
I reckon Taranto's the big one.
Tanner Bruin?
And Tanner Bruin, yeah.
Yeah.
looking at.
So yeah,
Sims.
Bruin's definitely worth a buy. Like before
Green.
trade, because as soon as he goes, people
So Tom
will
you
go.
want to buy on, probably Hopper as well.
Hopper's one you want to buy too because he's
Yeah.
not been
Yeah.
hasn't necessarily got a massive
Yeah, true.
ceiling, but like
You can
he'll
still
probably
buy
actually
one.
get if he gets a crack at injury, he might actually put together a good
The
season.
weird one's just whether they this with Perryman playing like as the inside mid, because they've toyed with it a few times this year, and he's now back in there, isn't
A big score on the weekend.
he?
Yeah,
Yeah,
You
playing as
mentioned
like a
tagged,
tagger.
yeah.
Yeah. So it's like whether or not he's just like Hopper. They loved Hopper when he was healthy. So yeah, it's a tough one.
Do you expect forwards to be as hard to get again next season?
I found forwards to be okay this year.
Yeah, like
not like 100 pluses,
Yeah.
but like
the old punt forwards rule just kind of went with, or go with. I said, I think that worked pretty well for me this year. And I plan to just do the same again next year as well.
yeah, like I don't know.
Just go in your draft and just wait for your draft and take as many as you can and see
Because
how
if
they
you
go.
don't have the best ones, you know,
Yeah,
there's not necessarily worth.
try to get heaps that you can loophole each week. That's the way I go about it.
And at least we have a fixture to look at 15 rounds next year, which would be handy.
Oh, that'd be nice. So you can actually plan some away trips as well. And G24, any hard tags we should look out this week for our grand final matchups? The usuals, Finn McGuinness. Then there's
Who are Hawthorn
Ryan
playing?
Clark. So Hawthorn are playing.
I thought I'm playing the Bulldogs.
Yeah.
I mean, I had a list to me for
So
from
Bailey-
a pod
Bailey
listener
Dale.
with all
So
the matchup.
There with you?
Sorry.
Smith
got it
and
there,
Lebo
would you?
got tagged.
Yeah.
They were the ones that got
Oh,
tagged.
here we go.
Yeah.
Dossie's got a nice little list for us.
Lions D's. It could be a Harms or a Matheson potentially. That's
Okay.
what he's. That's what Taser. This is from Taser.
Thanks,
Giants versus Freo. He's got Perryman, Ash,
Yeah.
and Aish for the Freo.
Or Ash could do it. Like
I
that.
think so. I think it's a guarantee. Andy Brayshaw gets it. Then the other one would be obviously whether O'Neill or Jackson Nelson tags anyone in the Cats matchup. I don't know if they do or not. Does Jai Caldwell run with anyone for Richmond? Has he still been doing that role?
Didn't watch the game at all. It was
He's
bliss, actually.
just a bit like meh.
He's on anyone from Port? I don't know if they run with
Keezy
that.
goes in the guts.
You've
Does
got
it-
McGuinness
yeah.
versus the Dogs.
Keys could go to Rosie.
Yeah.
Could be a tag option. So that's, yeah.
Not a bad one.
Yeah.
And then did Setterfield tag? He's got that in here.
Yeah, went to CBAs. I don't know. That's
Okay.
not. I didn't watch the game. I got
And
notes.
then obviously Ryan Clark, Windhager, and Owens. They actually all those three taggers are playing against each other this week.
Just a tag
Ryan,
off.
Hopefully they don't
Ryan
go to
Clark's
Mills.
100% going to
Steve.
Jack. No,
Sinclair.
Jack Sinclair.
Yeah.
I don't know who Windhager would go to. Whether that's a Chad Warner maybe.
Maybe a Warner.
Yeah, Warner's struggled with the tag last few weeks.
Probably a Warner.
Oh, that's not making K's very
Or
happy.
maybe a Parker or something. I don't
As
know.
long as he
He's
doesn't
been
go to
pretty good
Callum
too.
Mills.
Parker's been in
fine.
hot form. And then whether or not an Owens goes to anyone, I don't know.
Yeah. Anyways, next question comes from @WoodyJ64. Do any of Billings, Gresham, Rosie, Butters, Nick Martin keep forward status in order year? And what position will the coaches get? I reckon Gresham gives a chance of keeping forward status because his CBA numbers weighted this year. Like some weeks he was out. So you don't reckon?
I don't think so.
Anyway, would any of the other ones?
What was that?
Martin, any of those keep forward status?
Maybe.
Possibly Mark.
Yeah, I've really
Possibly
watched.
Butters, I would have thought. He's the one that hasn't played as much.
Butters has been like midfield for probably 2/3 of the season, but it was like the last back in the midfield on the weekend.
Butters has a 8% attendance for the season.
Yeah,
Low.
Yeah, but there was like a real injury affected game early. There was like 3 weeks.
Whereas Gresham's 60. Like that's the difference.
Fair enough.
That's what I'm talking about.
No, Butters could Ben, man, maybe. Yeah, he did have like a patch there when he came back from injury where he was playing up forward. But I think that's kind of what's brought that down. Plus, Port rotate pretty highly by the looks.
Yeah, I'd say Butters most likely out of those ones.
Anyway, at